Yep, we got that going. All right. So we are live on Facebook. We are behind the scenes here with the AbilityMKE Now starting in just a second. So we are going to start this. I've got time.gov up, and I'm going to start this actually right at 7:31, and we will end it right at 8 o'clock on the money because they need a 29-minute show. So we will do it that way, and I will send them the info when we are all done. So all right, 5 seconds here. Welcome to AbilityMKE Now on River West Radio. This is Sue Roscoff, and we are thrilled to be here. Oh, and I see River West is coming on right now. Let them get on the audio. All right, welcome River West Radio here. This is AbilityMKE Now. We are a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities, and here at AbilityMKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of a disability hits a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own or with people we know. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we break down the barriers and celebrate the ability in all of us. We are thrilled to have a special guest joining us this evening here. Super happy to, I personally have not been able to have a conversation with him yet. So I am absolutely pumped that he is here. I've heard a lot about him, and reputation precedes a bit. Emily, I'm actually wondering if you would like to have the honors of introducing him.
Yes, second here. I am. Oh, there we go. So tonight we have Mr. Robert Duran from 10X, and the biggest thing with them recently is that they became the most recent partner of the Happy Neighborhood Project. So gonna pass it over to Robert to briefly say who you are and welcome to the show.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Emily. Emily and I, we've been networking for the past probably a little over 3 months now. And Sue, we haven't yet met, but I'm looking forward to having 29 minutes with both of you ladies. So my name is Robert Duran. I'm calling from Austin, Texas, and I am a Grant Cardone licensee. I specialize in sales training, and as of 2022, I was ranked top Grant Cardone licensee for the year. I didn't expect it. I didn't know. It was an honor. And if you guys are familiar with Grant Cardone, it's a worldwide company. To have that honor under my belt is not only impacted me, but also my clients and the people that I associate myself with. So that's just a little bit about me. Thank you so much for allowing me and welcoming me to the show.
Awesome. We're so glad you're here. And I'm sure we're going to have people listening who aren't familiar with the Grant Cardone program. Can you explain to us what is that? What's that all about?
Absolutely. So Grant Cardone, he's a big name when it comes to business and real estate. A little bit of his background, he lost his dad at a very young age, and he fell into drugs, just depression. And at 25, he hit rock bottom. He stole from his mother, his best friend. And from then on, he said, you know what, I'm going to fully commit to figuring out this money game. How are successful people doing it? And that's how it all started. So now, multi 8-figure earner, owns over, I believe it's 9 companies now. And I am in charge of the sales training. So we work with a lot of companies and we teach people how to master the art of communication with the sales. So yeah, look him up. He's a big person. He had the ex-president, whether you like him or not, Kevin Hart, John Travolta, he just had the Wahlberg, Mark Wahlberg. So he's attracting a lot of heavy hitters into the circle of the whole 10X empire.
Oh my gosh, that's when you can get the big names like that involved, that really does make a difference for being able to really propel what you're doing forward in being able to really leverage their contacts and their name recognition. That all is amazing. So with what 10X is, what does 10X represent? What does that part mean?
That's a great question. So that's something, GrowthCon is now ranked the #1 business conference in the world. We just had it, what was it? March or February. I got to double check, but that's one of the questions that they ask. They ask that question of, what does 10X mean to you? And 10X is really just doing 10 times more than everyone else, doing 10X goals, going for 10X things. Because in reality, Grant says you can never fail doing too much. You could only fail doing too little. So it's just having that mindset of thinking bigger, going harder, and being successful 10 times more than what you think you can, do. Right. So yeah, that's where the 10X comes in.
Awesome. Oh, I like that. And that makes a ton of sense. The more you invest yourself in what you're doing with your time, with your talent, with everything, the more you're going to succeed along the way. I mean, you always want your starting at point A and you want point B to be a straight line, but it's not. It's going to be up and down and in and out and trying to work your way to get to where you're going. But that's why it takes the perseverance and that extra effort. And if you really want to get to where you're going, you have to really work for it. Things don't just fall into your lap, and life isn't that easy.
No, it's it is like, and you're right, people think it's from a point A to point B type of deal. I mean, that's the overall goal, but if you were to zoom, like one day you could be up, next day you're down, next day you're worse, next day you're even worse, all of a sudden you're skyrocket. But if you were to zoom out and you have your stats, right, that's the importance of having stats, then it should look like it's going up. It should be going up. But it's not just one direct line of, everything's okay, nothing bad's going to happen to you. It's life, guys. Stuff happens.
Yeah, I saw a cartoon once where the drawing, it was kind of a line drawing, and that's where plan A was that straight line. Plan B is reality, where it was actually you're climbing a mountain and then you're back down in the valley and you're paddling a boat and then you're going back up again and there's a tightrope you have to cross, and all these different things, but you do get there because it took that extra effort. It wasn't just that walking a straight path. It took all that effort, but you know what? They get there at the end. That's the reality. So with what you do with your coaching, what role do you end up playing along the way? What kind of impact do you typically make for a person?
Yeah, so everyone's different. So just to clarify, there's a lot of different coaches. There's personal coaches, NLP coaches, business consultants. Mine is more towards the sales. So going from, talking to someone, whether it's just a conversation or you're trying to talk to them about your product, till the end process, which is actually shaking hands or signing a contract. Between there, and there's some more to follow up, we'll get into that, but from when the person is somewhat interested till the person signs a contract, the only barrier that's in the middle between is the person that's trying to sell them the product. So a lot of times with my clients, they grab some type of interest, but towards the end, nothing happens. They usually get we'll get back to you, or send me over some information. Let me think about it. And then nothing happens. They either get ghosted or they delay the process longer. So we teach our clients that, hey, you're the barrier and there's something missing, whether it's a skill, a technique, you're maybe saying something that turns them off. There's a lot of different things. So we cover everything in between there, just so they could continue on with the sales process, right? Because there's little speed bumps. And if you know how to overcome those speed bumps, then you'll eventually get to a shaking the hand. And that's where the real value comes in. When there is an exchange, because now the customer has what they want and it benefits the family. The salesperson has money, the company has money. Now you can pay your bookkeeper, you can pay the taxes. Like there's just so much that happens when you have that handshake and there's something of value being transferred. It's not just commission. So what I do is I sit down with my clients, I see what's going on. And I like to consider myself kind of like a mechanic. If you have a car problem, you can try to figure it out yourself. You can probably go on YouTube or something. But if you take it to a certified mechanic right away, just by you turning on the car, they might be like, oh, it's the alternator. And you're just like, what? Had I known, right? Had I known, it would have saved me so much time and money. So, working with the #1 sales trainer, sales platform in the world, when people tell me what's going on in their business and the sales, I'm like that mechanic. I say, well, this kind of sounds like you're saying this. And most of the time, yeah, it's that. So we got to teach them a skill, or we're able to tweak it for them to overcome the objection and keep going on with the sales process.
Nice. Actually, it kind of reminds me a lot of our good friend of the show, Diva. I think you may know Denise Vargas.
Yes, yes.
So I know her whole thing is about living creatively, and her company Live Creatively. So she is an individual with a physical disability and has had to live her entire life living creatively to do and reach her goals, to do the things that, I walk to get to from here to there. She rolls to get from here to there. And with all the different, that's just one little thing. But with her success in business, with all the things she's done, she's had to take a creative approach to be able to accomplish those things, because what's basically mainstream and typical, normal, what ends up being what the average person ends up needing for what their process is, hers might be a little different just because of her circumstance. So I'm kind of curious, do you actually end up running across that much? Do you end up having many clients where you have to look at things in a different way? Because really, from what you were describing, it sounded already like you take that creative approach with wherever they are. You work with the ability they have and figure out how do I move forward with these current abilities and create additional abilities and skills.
Absolutely. Every person's different. Every person. It could be a disability. It could be their culture. It could be their upbringing. It could be their gender. It could be where they were born. Like there's just so many. So right now I'm working with someone, and she's originally from a different country. So her mindset is completely different from maybe being born here in the States. Right. So I have to understand how they were brought up, how they were taught about money and selling. And I have to, as we go with the process, I'm able to better communicate, because again, that's what sales is, communication. Better communicate so the person can truly understand what's going on. So it's every person's different. Some people I could kind of be like, oh, I've worked with someone similar, and I'm able to, from my experience, but every person's different. I'm a Hispanic, so some of the words are backwards. I'm middle class, so the way we're taught about money is different. So that starts to affect mindset, which it affects your sales, right? So yeah, absolutely. Everyone's different, and just by asking the right questions, you can better guide them to what they're trying to accomplish.
Awesome. Yeah, I could, in my mind, I'm seeing you in many ways similar to others that I've met along the way, like I was saying with Diva, and even like job coaches. And I mean, what you do takes things to a different level, but there's a lot of similarities in what I'm hearing, because you need to really, that you have a huge challenge with what you do, because you need to tailor things individually to every person you're working with. So when you do that, then I'm just curious, with the training that you've had through this program, how do they prepare you for that so that you can really tailor this to what each person needs? What I'm not as familiar with the Grant Cardone program as I'd like to be. I'm just curious how they really steer you and how you think these through.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, working with the Cardinal team, we're one, we have trainings 2 times a week, every Wednesday and every Friday, and these are high-end trainings. I mean, we're bringing in the top people from the company, and they're training us like in a group coaching setting where we have that one-to-one communication where it's like, hey, I have an issue or I have something with a client, can you guide me, right? So we have that mentorship on a weekly basis. Another thing too is with the whole Grant Cardone 10X training is we believe in ongoing sales training. So this is very similar to a professional athlete or anyone that's professional. Most people, they go to a course or maybe something that they did years ago and they say, oh, you know, I've had experience. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know enough. Well, if we think of an athlete, most people, they play as a kid, let's just say football, and then finally they make it to the NFL. And then that's when they say, okay, like I made it. Do they stop there? No. Now it's a whole other level. And in order to play at that level, they have to train, practice daily before the game. So with the whole Grant Cardone training, it's the same mentality is we train daily. We have morning rituals. We write down our goals, our targets, our battle plan. And my program, I pray, watch a sermon, and then I'll do Grant Cardone University, which is one of the bread and butters that we have. So it's that ongoing training, not being rusty, learning new things on a daily basis that keeps me focused and always on it. So when I talk to my clients, it could be something that I've learned recently, like in one of our trainings, or it could be something that I've built a muscle because you add all those hours under your belt that you're able to, again, better provide to your clients.
I love that analogy with sports, because yeah, there is, to be able to get to the point of being a professional athlete, you do have to train harder than everybody else. And then you're right, once you get there, you still have to train harder than everybody else. If you want to put in, if you want to get the results you're looking for, you have to work 10 times harder than everybody else.
You have to. You know, I read a book, Michael Jordan. Everyone knows Michael Jordan. Everybody wants to be Michael Jordan, but they never actually, you know, the way his mind works. But when I believe it was 93, 94, when he left the Bulls, after he won 3 championships, he went to baseball. I don't know if you guys remember that. He went to baseball.
I do remember that.
And we're talking about a while back. And the thing that he did is when he came in, he hadn't touched the baseball in a bat since he was 15, 16. But what he did is he kept on practicing the same swing over and over and over again, 90 minutes before practice. Practice was 3 hours, and then he would go back for another 30 minutes. But he had to redo his body because he had a body of a basketball player. So he talks about how he had to redo the muscles in certain areas because it was preventing him from swinging the bat and throwing. So he had to get muscles in areas that he didn't. So why do I bring that up? Because it's one thing going 10 times more, but there are areas where you and I are not as strong in. Like, I'll be honest, 100%, because I grew up by the border, Mexico, and I'm originally from Laredo. So I grew up with English and Spanish. My main language is English, but Spanish was there. But I'm not 100% in English because, again, when you grow up in that border town, there's a lot of words that are, I mean, it's called Spanglish. So I've had to work harder learning English, and I've had to even work harder learning Spanish. So every one of us has a problem. Every one of us has something that we need to put in more time to gain a muscle and learn, where most people, like, I suck at spelling. But there's people that can just type. They can just and you're just like, how do you do that? They have the skill, but I have to put in way more time. I need to take courses. I need to buy softwares to help me even do that. So all of us have some type of, I don't want to use the word disability, but we have something that we're not as good at, that we do have to put in more time than others. But at the end of the day, if you put in the time and build the muscle and you use technology and you surround yourself with other people, you build a team that you can leverage off each other's strengths, anything is possible. Anything. And there is no one successful person that you and I know that's by themselves. They have a team that helps them run it.
Sue, isn't it awesome they have a university?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Oh, yeah.
amazing. Yeah. And when you were talking, it reminded me of a good friend of ours that actually was in the very beginning of us with our whole journey of understanding the whole ability topic. And his mantra is always, look at my ability, not my disability. And he's a gentleman who is a full-time wheelchair user. He has a speech impediment. He's got cerebral palsy. He's got all sorts of physical things going on, but he is the funniest guy, the most motivational guy, the best friend a person could ever ask for. He's a really good guy. And when you first meet him, though, I remember when I first met him, and I honestly was a little intimidated because, like, I'm not used to being around somebody in a wheelchair. I'm struggling with the communication part because since we don't know each other much yet, he was stuttering more than usual, and well, that I've learned now. And so I was like, I'm not sure how to handle this. You know, it was, now I look back on it and I chuckle because now we're, you know, the best of friends. And it's all, where's your starting point? Everybody needs a starting point. And to be able to actually understand that, hey, understand what the abilities are, and there's nothing mentally wrong with him. I'm struggling to communicate because I'm making a big thing of it in my head because I don't know what I'm doing here. And that kind of, there's some parallels there with what you're saying, and understanding with, like, with the clients you're working with, wherever their ability is, where do we move forward from here, and how do we to go with what you're saying with that Michael Jordan example. I mean, he's looking for that muscle memory. I mean, this is kind of the same thing with when you're teaching somebody about sales and they need to understand how to overcome this objection that's in front of them. If they've seen it before, they have to get that so-called muscle memory of how do I respond to this, and to make it be that's just, it's automatic. I know this, I understand this, and I can move forward with my next person that I'm working with because I've seen this before and I've got this down now.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just practice. It's over and over and over again. The layup, practice the layup over and over. The free throw, same thing. The 3-point, the sprints. So, and that's in anything, you know, like there's certain words that I get stuck. I remember there was a word that I couldn't say. What was it? It wasn't accelerator. It was a word, and I had to practice it and practice it and practice it. Well, I'm doing the same thing now in Spanish because my reputation is now converted because I am, you know, Hispanic. They're like, hey, can you do this in Spanish? Because there's no one out there that can. There is, but very, very like 1% with the whole Grant Cardone stuff, and they're asking for it. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna have to figure it out, right? So I'm going back and I have to learn words. I have Google Translate on me, and I push it and I practice it, and now I have an app that I'm constantly training my tongue to say certain words because I'm not used to saying it, right? So it's a muscle. It's a muscle. But yeah, it's just one of those things that anything that you are not good at and you want to improve, it is going to require practice, training, and repetition. Sometimes You might have to get a coach. Sometimes they're now with the technology, there's AI, there's a lot of things that are making it easier for all of us to get it. Or if you think of a business term, then it's who can you bring into your business that has that ability that you can either just pay them, offer them a commission, maybe a trade, or bring them to your company. That way you could continue to move forward. So there's just different ways. You just got to think outside of the box and not limit yourself and, oh, it's me and I'm not good at it. No. That's okay. But what can you do to fix it?
Awesome. Well, and I know you had a chance, I believe you had a chance to speak at the International Day of Happiness event that we just had last week, right?
Yes.
How was that experience for you?
It was great. You know, I really had a good time. When I looked at the time, I said, wow, this is a whole day event. And I go to seminars, and sometimes some seminars you're just like, I want to leave already. But this one was great. Like it went by like that, and it was fun. Like I learned a lot. It was very well organized. And before I knew it, it was already like 4:30 Central Time, and I'm just like, wow, okay, like we're almost done. It was fun. I had a blast. How about yourself?
Yeah, I totally agree. I was shocked actually how fast the day went. And I actually took the day off of work so I'd be able to focus on what was going on in there. And it was back to back. We had good speakers, we had entertainment, we had education happening. It really, I was impressed with what they all did putting it together, because Happy Neighborhood Project has been a pretty big impact in what we've done in our household here in the last couple of years. And how long have you been involved? I know we're getting down to just under 2 minutes here. I'm kind of curious what your connection all has been with Happy Neighborhood Project and where you see things going.
Absolutely. So I run a networking group here in Austin, and my co-host told me about Happy Neighborhood Project. Her name is Helen Perlt with, I believe she represents the Australian chat with HNP.
Yeah, she's in Australia.
Yes. And she told me about it. She's like, hey, Robert, by then I was already working with her. She was already helping me co-host, and I was teaching her a lot of awesome stuff. And she's like, hey, Robert, you should try it out. I went, I liked it. And then she said, I applied for a co-host. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. So that's how the introduction happened. Just, just networking. And then the way I spoke to Edwin, it was just, 10X. Just, I don't know if I have time to tell you that or if you're interested, but I could tell you how I approached Edwin.
Actually, we might have to have you back on another night to be able to get all those inside details here, because it's going to be an amazing partnership. And I think I see a lot of good coming from what you have established, and I'm excited to see where everything goes. So if I've got about a 10-second kind of a blurb here of a take-home message for everybody. Do you have a last thought for our crew?
Absolutely. We all have stuff going on in our lives. And I respect and I acknowledge each and everyone's reasons why they can't do something. But those reasons are killing your dreams. Just do it.
Just do it. I love that. Thank you so much for being with us, Robert. We are so grateful. So for AbilityMKE Now, we thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies. Have a 10X night.